Have you ever felt like someone was thinking about you just moments before they actually messaged you? Or like there was some kind of invisible thread pulling you toward a specific person, even when logic tells you it doesn't make sense? That's not wishful thinking, it's not coincidence, it's energy. It's your subconscious mind speaking a language the conscious world often ignores. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, spent his life studying this hidden realm. He taught that we don't passively experience life. We co-create it not just with our actions, but with our emotions, our intentions, and most importantly, with our unconscious mind. Tonight, just before you fall asleep, you'll enter a space where your inner world can touch reality itself. And that's where everything changes. This video isn't about controlling someone else's free will. It's about aligning your energy, so purely, so powerfully, that the person who's meant to be drawn to you can feel it, can't ignore it, and responds to it, almost as if by fate. And the key? It's a sacred window right before you drift into sleep. In that moment, your conscious thoughts begin to dissolve. The ego softens. The veil between your inner world and the outer world becomes thin. It's not just rest. It's a portal. A space where feeling becomes creation. Your mind may wander during the day, but at night, in those quiet moments before sleep, your subconscious becomes a blank canvas. What you place there, emotionally, symbolically, can ripple into your waking life. The method you'll learn today is emotionally guided, symbolically charged, and grounded in Jung's deepest psychological principles: archetypes, synchronicity, and the creative power of the unconscious. Because when you feel love as if it's already real, when you generate emotional states that match your desire, you're not just hoping anymore, you're activating. This is more than attraction, it's soul-level alignment. If you're tired of chasing, waiting, doubting, if you want to stop overthinking and start resonating, stay with me. Because what I'm about to show you could completely shift your energy and open the space for him to wake up desperate to see you. Let's begin. Carl Jung didn't just study the unconscious, he lived inside its mysteries. He believed that what we experience in the external world is often a direct reflection of what's happening deep within our psyche. In other words, your outer reality mirrors your inner state. If you've ever found yourself attracting the same kind of relationships, running into the same emotional patterns, or feeling like life is looping around the same unresolved theme, Jung would say it's not random. It's your unconscious speaking through the language of repetition, symbol, and energy. And when it comes to attracting a specific person, the same rules apply. You might think it's all about chemistry, looks, timing, but beneath all that, there's a field of energy between you and the world. And that field is shaped by your unconscious beliefs, emotional memories, and archetypes, the ancient forces Jung described as the symbolic building blocks of the soul. One of the most powerful of these is the lover archetype, the part of you that longs for connection, passion, intimacy. But here's the twist. If your inner lover is wounded, ignored, or distorted by past experiences, the energy you send out is fragmented. You may deeply want to be loved, but unconsciously expect abandonment, betrayal, or distance. That's why conscious intention isn't enough. You can want something all day long, but if your subconscious is filled with fear, doubt, or emotional trauma, that inner frequency will shape what shows up in your outer world. You'll attract not what you desire, but what you unconsciously believe. Jung called this projection, when you unknowingly project your internal emotional world onto others. This is why we often fall for unavailable people, or feel obsessed with someone who mirrors back our unresolved pain. But here's the good news. Projection isn't a curse, it's a map. Once you become aware of what you're projecting, you can take your power back. That's where this method begins to work. Because instead of obsessing about what he's thinking or doing, you begin to shift your own emotional frequency. You stop sending out signals of, "I need you to complete me," and start radiating, "I already am love." And when that happens, the mirror changes. You start experiencing synchronicities, those uncanny moments when he calls just as you thought of him, or you see his name, or bump into mutual connections. Jung called this synchronicity meaningful. Coincidences that occur when your inner world aligns with the outer world in a non-linear way. This isn't magic, it's resonance. The clearer your emotional signal, the more powerful your manifestation becomes, and the subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to emotion, imagery, and symbolism. That's why the practices in this video won't just talk to your mind. They'll speak to your soul. Your job isn't to chase love or manipulate the other person. Your job is to become so emotionally coherent that the vibration of love flows through you effortlessly. That coherence becomes irresistible. Remember, he can only meet you as deeply as you've met yourself. And once you begin to align your inner world with clarity, safety, and self-worth, everything around you adjusts to meet that new frequency, because once you change the mirror, everything reflected in it begins to change too. Each evening, as the noise of the outside world begins to fade, and the body naturally shifts into a state of rest, we pass through a subtle, often unnoticed psychological threshold, one that Carl Jung regarded as profoundly sacred. This moment, suspended delicately between waking consciousness and the realm of dreams, holds a power that is rarely understood and even more rarely utilized with intention. It is here, in this liminal state just before sleep, where the conscious mind surrenders control, and the subconscious opens like a receptive field ready to be imprinted with emotion, image, and energy. Far from being a simple transition into rest, this is a symbolic doorway, one in which the rational structures of the ego are temporarily loosened, giving space for the deeper archetypal forces of the unconscious to emerge. Jung believed that the unconscious was not merely a storage system for repressed memories, but a living, creative intelligence that continuously shapes our reality through symbols, emotional resonance, and invisible patterning. And at night, just before we sleep, we have an opportunity to engage with this intelligence directly. Yet most people squander this opportunity. They fall asleep distracted by thoughts of stress, consumed by social media, or numbed by emotional residue from the day. What they don't realize is that in doing so, they are feeding their unconscious with chaos, allowing randomness to imprint the most impressionable moment of the entire day. But when you become intentional in this moment, when you treat it as a ritual rather than a routine, you begin to influence the most powerful creative mechanism you possess, your subconscious mind. To harness this power, begin with a conscious slowing down of your system. Breathe deeply, not just to calm your nerves, but to signal to your body that it is safe to relax, to receive. As you sink into stillness, gently bring to mind the image of the person you wish to connect with, not in a desperate or needy way, but with warmth, presence, and emotional clarity. Don't simply see them. Allow yourself to feel their presence as though it were already real. Hear the tone of their voice. Sense the way your body responds to their closeness. Feel the emotional quality of being in their company, not as something hoped for, but as something remembered. This process is not fantasy, it is vibrational preparation. The subconscious does not distinguish between what is imagined with emotional intensity and what is experienced through the five senses. When you emotionally rehearse a reality, as though it were already occurring, you are activating the neural and energetic pathways that allow that reality to be magnetized into form. The key, however, is embodiment. It is not enough to think about love. You must feel it deeply in your nervous system, in your breath, in the way your body softens and opens in response to the imagined experience. And this is where most visualization practices fall short. People try to manifest with their heads, using logic and mental repetition, forgetting that the language of the subconscious is emotional, symbolic, and nonverbal. Words alone are not enough. They must be saturated with meaning, paired with imagery, and accompanied by emotional resonance. Saying thank you because he's already thinking of me becomes powerful only when it is felt with conviction, as though you are remembering something sacred that already belongs to you. You do this night after night. You begin to recondition your entire energy field. You stop projecting lack and longing, and instead start radiating coherence, inner safety, and alignment. You become the emotional equivalent of the love you wish to receive. And the outer world, being the mirror that it is, begins to respond, not to your words or your wishes, but to the frequency you consistently hold. To deepen this imprinting, Incorporate small but meaningful physical anchors, like placing your hand over your heart or gently repeating your affirmation with your eyes closed and a half smile on your face. These gestures send cues to your subconscious that this moment matters, that what you're saying and feeling is real and worthy of being integrated into your belief system. It's crucial, however, not to approach this practice with tension or urgency. The subconscious resists force. Instead, allow this to become a gentle and sacred routine. If resistance arises, doubt, fear, conflicting thoughts, welcome them with compassion and return softly to the feeling of connection. You are not trying to overpower your unconscious. You are inviting it into a new possibility through consistent emotional presence. Over time, this nightly ritual becomes a form of self-initiation. You stop searching for signs and start becoming the sign. You stop hoping that he'll reach out and instead embody the version of you who has already received the love she deserves. This isn't about pretending. It's about aligning so deeply with your desired reality that it begins to feel inevitable. In Jungian terms, you are aligning the conscious ego with the deeper self, where desire, emotion, and purpose meet. The threshold of sleep becomes your temple, and every night you step into it not to escape reality, but to shape it from within. Visualization is often misunderstood as a simple act of imagining pictures in your mind, something passive, almost like daydreaming. But what truly makes visualization transformative is not the image itself, but the emotional quality that breathes life into it. When done correctly, visualization becomes a powerful act of energetic alignment. You are not just thinking about what you want. You are becoming the version of yourself who already has it. The reason this distinction matters so deeply is because the subconscious mind, as Carl Jung emphasized, responds not to thoughts or logic, but to emotion, symbolism, and repetition. You cannot simply tell your subconscious what you want, it must feel it. You must immerse it in an experience that mimics reality so closely that your inner world begins to shift and respond as though the imagined scene were true. So how do you begin this kind of emotional visualization? Start by choosing a scene that evokes a deep emotional response, not because it's dramatic or grand, but because it feels intimate, safe, and real. It might be a moment of shared laughter, a quiet evening at home, or the way that person looks at you as if you are the only one in the room. Keep the scene simple but saturated with emotional meaning. The goal is not to construct a fantasy, but to create a symbolic moment that your subconscious can absorb and replicate. As you begin to see this scene in your mind's eye, focus not just on the visuals, but on your body. Where do you feel warmth? What emotions begin to rise? Is there a sense of ease, joy, or tenderness? Emotional visualization is about embodiment. It's about letting your nervous system experience the feeling of already having what you desire. If your visualization makes your chest soften, your breath deepen, or your eyes tear up with gratitude, then you're doing it right. To deepen the impact, pair your scene with affirmations that reinforce your emotional reality. But again, these are not robotic phrases repeated without meaning. Your affirmations must be alive. They must feel like truths you are remembering, not lies you are trying to convince yourself of. For example, instead of saying, "He's going to love me," say, "He already feels drawn to me." Replace hope with remembrance, replace desire with presence, and remember, repetition is what creates resonance. A single visualization might shift your mood, but consistent, emotionally charged visualization, done night after night, reshapes your energetic signature. Your vibration begins to stabilize in alignment with the love you want to attract. And when your emotional frequency changes, everything around you begins to change too. Another key element of effective visualization is surrender. Many people try to control the scene too tightly, trying to force details, dialogue, or specific outcomes. But real emotional visualization is co-creative. You are not constructing a movie with perfect lines. You are stepping into a living moment that unfolds naturally based on how you feel. Let the emotions guide the imagery, not the other way around. Let your subconscious speak in its own language of metaphor, memory, and emotion. And here's a powerful truth. Your visualization does not need to be perfect to be effective. What matters is that it's consistent, emotionally rich, and done with sincerity. Even if your mind wanders or doubts arise, you simply return to the feeling. With time, your subconscious will begin to believe it, and when it believes it, it begins to make it real. One of the most potent things you can do during your visualization is to end with a feeling of gratitude. Gratitude is a signal to the subconscious that the desire is already fulfilled. It's the emotional equivalent of, "Thank you for what already exists." It tells your energy field, "This is mine," and it invites the outer world to match that certainty. You might say quietly, "Thank you for this connection that already exists. Thank you for the love that's finding me now. Thank you for this moment, this feeling, this truth." By doing this, you close the loop. You complete the emotional circuit that tells your inner world to make this feeling your baseline, not your wish. The most beautiful part of this process is that over time, you begin to realize that the love you were seeking was never just about the other person. The practice of feeling it, embodying it, and claiming it reveals that you were always capable of generating that emotion yourself. The person becomes a mirror, a magnet, a match, not the source. Emotional visualization, done with depth and consistency, turns you into the signal, not the seeker. You stop attracting from a place of lack and start radiating from a place of fullness. And in that fullness, you become unmistakable, magnetic, unforgettable. While the threshold of sleep is a powerful gateway for programming the subconscious, the hours that follow, your waking moments, are equally important in sustaining the emotional vibration you're cultivating. What happens during the day either reinforces or dissolves the inner work you've done the night before. This is why anchoring the emotional state you've created through visualization is so crucial. Without it, you risk slipping back into old patterns of doubt, fear, and emotional dissonance that cancel out the alignment you've worked so hard to build. Anchoring, in this context, is a way of linking a physical gesture, phrase, or moment of awareness to the emotional frequency you desire to hold throughout the day. It's about creating conscious reminders that bring you back to that inner state of love, certainty, and magnetism, especially during times when the external world might tempt you to feel otherwise. One of the simplest and most effective anchors is a physical gesture. For example, placing your hand over your heart when you think about the person you are manifesting is a powerful symbolic act. This gesture, when paired with a deeply felt affirmation like, "I'm already connected to him," serves as a signal to your subconscious that this moment is sacred, this feeling is true, and this version of yourself is your new baseline. It's not about forcing the thought. It's about creating a subtle ritual that brings your energy back into alignment. You can also anchor with breath. Whenever you feel anxious, impatient, or doubtful, pause, take a slow inhale, and remember how it felt last night when you were fully in that moment of connection. Recreate the emotional tone of that visualization, not by thinking about it, but by feeling it in your body. Let your breath become the bridge between memory and manifestation. Another powerful tool is a signature affirmation you repeat quietly throughout the day. Not like a mantra you have to say over and over, but like a whisper from your future self. Something like, "He's already sensing me. We're already connected. I am the love he's looking for." These phrases only have power when you believe them even a little, and they gain strength the more you repeat them with emotion. You can also use symbols throughout your environment. Wear a specific ring, place a certain object on your desk, or use a wallpaper on your phone that reminds you of the feeling of love and connection. These are not lucky charms. They are emotional anchors, subtle visual cues that reconnect your outer space with your inner frequency. What's most important is that you stop letting your emotional state be dictated by external validation. The goal is not to look for signs out there that he's thinking of you. The goal is to feel so aligned, so grounded in your energy, that the signs naturally begin to appear as a reflection of your inner certainty. When your body, breath, and environment all serve as reinforcements of your emotional alignment, you move through the world differently. You carry yourself with quiet confidence. You stop asking when and start trusting how. You stop chasing and start drawing in. And that's when true magnetic attraction begins, not as a performance, but as your natural state. If visualization is the emotional rehearsal of your desired reality, then symbolic writing is the act of grounding that reality into form. It is one of the most ancient, yet most underestimated tools for deep subconscious reprogramming. In Jungian terms, writing is a symbolic ritual. It translates invisible emotion into visible language. And when done with intentionality, it bypasses your logical mind and imprints directly into the subconscious. The key here is not just to write about what you want, but to write as if it has already happened. You're not journaling hopes. You're recording memories from a future that already exists within your energetic field. This small shift changes everything. Each night or each morning, you sit with a notebook that is sacred to you. You open it not just to journal, but to cast emotional spells in the language the subconscious understands, the present tense, the symbolic, and the emotional. Write things like, "Today, he reached out to me with a message that melted my heart. He couldn't stop thinking about me, and I could feel his energy all day. The love between us is magnetic, real, and flowing naturally." The words themselves are less important than the emotional resonance behind them. You want to write in a way that makes you feel something. That's how you know the message is reaching beyond the surface mind and into the deeper realms where beliefs are formed. What's happening psychologically is that you are using the power of autosuggestion, a concept both Jung and other depth psychologists valued. Through repetition and emotional symbolism, you begin to reshape the internal narratives that define your reality. You're not just shifting what you think, you're shifting who you believe you are and what you believe is possible. This practice also trains your focus. It keeps your energy aligned with the version of you who already lives the love story you're calling in. It pulls you out of waiting, longing, and wondering, and into emotional authorship. You become the storyteller, the one who chooses the script, the tone, the ending. Writing in this way doesn't require hours. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day can create measurable shifts in your vibration, especially when done consistently. It becomes a quiet, powerful ritual that deepens your alignment and makes your manifestation more emotionally believable. Because once your subconscious believes it, the world will have no choice but to follow. If visualization is the emotional rehearsal of your desired reality, then symbolic writing is the act of grounding that reality into form. It is one of the most ancient, yet most underestimated tools for deep subconscious reprogramming. In Jungian terms, writing is a symbolic ritual. It translates invisible emotion into visible language. And when done with intentionality, it bypasses your logical mind and imprints directly into the subconscious. The key here is not just to write about what you want, but to write as if it has already happened. You're not journaling hopes. You're recording memories from a future that already exists within your energetic field. This small shift changes everything. Each night or each morning, you sit with a notebook that is sacred to you. You open it not just to journal, but to cast emotional spells in the language the subconscious understands, the present tense, the symbolic, and the emotional. Write things like, "Today he reached out to me with a message that melted my heart. He couldn't stop thinking about me, and I could feel his energy all day. The love between us is magnetic, real, and flowing naturally." The words themselves are less important than the emotional resonance behind them. You want to write in a way that makes you feel something. That's how you know the message is reaching beyond the surface mind and into the deeper realms where beliefs are formed. What's happening psychologically is that you are using the power of autosuggestion, a concept both Jung and other depth psychologists valued. Through repetition and emotional symbolism, you begin to reshape the internal narratives that define your reality. You're not just shifting what you think, you're shifting who you believe you are and what you believe is possible. This practice also trains your focus. It keeps your energy aligned with the version of you who already lives the love story you're calling in. It pulls you out of waiting, longing, and wondering, and into emotional authorship. You become the storyteller, the one who chooses the script, the tone, the ending. Writing in this way doesn't require hours. just 5 to 10 minutes a day can create measurable shifts in your vibration, especially when done consistently. It becomes a quiet, powerful ritual that deepens your alignment and makes your manifestation more emotionally believable. Because once your subconscious believes it, the world will have no choice but to follow. There is one truth that underlies every technique, every ritual, every visualization in this process. Nothing you attract will ever be more powerful than the energy you embody. And the energy that magnetizes the most love is not longing, craving, or desperate desire. It is self-possession, inner fullness, and self-love that radiates without needing to prove or pursue. Carl Jung spoke often about the path of individuation, the journey of becoming whole within oneself. He emphasized that true love is not born from lack, but from the integration of one's inner world. In Jungian psychology, when we attempt to find someone to complete what we haven't integrated in ourselves, we're not loving, we're projecting. We turn the other into a container for our unmet needs, and when they inevitably fail to carry that weight, we experience pain, rejection, or obsession. This is why the deepest manifestation work begins not with attracting the other, but with reclaiming yourself. Ask yourself gently, what part of me believes I need someone else to feel whole? The answer might surprise you. It might be the wounded inner child who felt invisible, or the teenage self who learned that love meant chasing, or the adult self who confuses attention with connection. Whatever it is, your job is not to judge it, it's to love it into integration. Self-love is not about standing in the mirror, reciting mantras you don't believe. It's about treating yourself like someone worthy of deep attention, care, and emotional availability. It's about creating rituals that serve you, boundaries that protect you, and standards that elevate your sense of worth. When you do this consistently, you stop radiating energetic need and start exuding natural magnetism. Neediness in the energetic realm is like noise. It drowns out the clarity of your intention. But when you release the grip of needing someone to love you in order to feel loved, you become emotionally silent, and in that silence your true signal begins to broadcast. That's when the right person, the right timing, and the right synchronicities begin to emerge. Not because you're forcing them, but because you've become the version of you who naturally attracts them. True manifestation isn't about pulling someone in. It's about becoming someone who no longer chases. And once you embody that, everything changes. Once you've visualized, affirmed, written, and emotionally aligned, there comes a moment where all of that inner work must be released. This is the art of surrender. It's the final step that many people skip, and ironically, it's the one that unlocks everything. Surrender is not giving up. It is not letting go of desire. Rather, it is the quiet, grounded act of trusting that your energy has already done the work. In Jungian terms, this is where we step back and allow the deeper forces of the psyche and of the universe to respond in their own language and timing. When you are constantly doing, constantly checking, constantly trying to force an outcome, you're telling your subconscious that you don't believe the manifestation is possible without your control. This reinforces doubt, anxiety, and scarcity. But when you allow yourself to enter a space of stillness, where you are not visualizing, not affirming, not even thinking about them, you allow your energy to settle, to root itself more deeply into your subconscious. You step into receptive mode. Stillness is not empty. It is alive with alignment. In these moments of pause, the unconscious is still working. The signals you've already sent are still vibrating. But now, without the interference of fear or over-efforting, they have the freedom to expand. This is why so many breakthroughs happen not when you're obsessing, but when you're resting. Not when you're searching for signs, but when you're living your life with presence. You might sit in silence for a few minutes during the day and just breathe, not to get anything, but to return to the feeling of trust, or take a walk and listen to music that opens your heart, or simply close your eyes and say, it's already unfolding, because the more you try to control the how, the more you block the flow. The power of this practice lies not just in the energy you send out, but in the calm confidence with which you wait, not passive, not impatient, but centered, Stillness is the final message you send to the universe that says, I already know this is mine. One of the most powerful ways to shift your subconscious and emotional reality is to collapse the timeline between your desire and its fulfillment by imagining the future as if it were already the past. This is known as the reverse timeline technique, and it's a deeply symbolic, emotionally charged method for anchoring your manifestation into the present moment. Here's how it works. Instead of visualizing your desired moment as something you hope will happen, you recall it as if it already did. You transform future desire into past memory, which gives the subconscious mind a blueprint it can believe and act on without resistance. Rather than saying, I hope he texts me tomorrow, you say, I remember how I felt the moment he finally sent that message. It was like the universe opened a door. Instead of visualizing being in a relationship, you say, I'll never forget that day he told me he felt the same way. It felt like my soul exhaled. You are not pretending. You are activating the emotional chemistry of memory, which your subconscious interprets as truth. This technique works because the subconscious mind doesn't experience time the way your conscious mind does. It responds to emotion paired with narrative. When you emotionally recall something as though it already happened, your energy field begins to match the reality of that memory. And from that alignment, synchronicity begins to move. You can practice this aloud, in writing, or silently during meditation. Describe a moment in detail, how it felt, what you heard, what surprised you, what you felt in your body. Anchor it emotionally. The more vivid the imagined memory, the more powerfully your subconscious will register it. This symbolic rewriting of memory can be used for anything: a text message, a conversation, a reunion, or even the feeling of deep safety in someone's arms. What matters is that the memory feels emotionally true, even if your logical mind knows it hasn't happened yet. With time, your subconscious begins to adjust your behavior, magnetism, and opportunities to match the emotional narrative you've installed. You stop waiting, you start remembering, and the universe responds in kind. While visualization and emotional alignment are vital for manifestation, there's a physical dimension to this process that often goes overlooked. Your body is also an energetic instrument, constantly broadcasting your emotional state into the world around you. And at the center of that broadcast lies your solar plexus, the energetic hub of personal power, confidence, and intention. In many spiritual and energetic systems, the solar plexus is considered the seat of will. It governs how you assert yourself in the world, how you hold boundaries, how you make decisions, and, most importantly, how confidently you feel worthy of what you desire. When this energy center is balanced and activated, you naturally radiate presence. You don't have to try to attract. You already do. Activating this area isn't about forcing intensity. It's about breathing consciously into your power. A simple practice. Sit or lie down. Place your hands just above your navel and begin to breathe deeply into that space. With each breath, imagine golden light expanding outward, filling your entire torso, then your entire aura. With every exhale, release any residue of doubt, fear, or emotional constriction. You might repeat a phrase like, I am centered in my power. My energy speaks for me. I trust that I am magnetic, even in silence. When the solar plexus is activated and harmonized, your energy field becomes coherent. It's like tuning your emotional and physical instrument into one unified frequency. Jung believed that the body and psyche were not separate, but intricately linked. Your posture, your breath, your muscle tension all send messages to your unconscious. So when you treat your body as part of your manifestation practice, you're reinforcing your intention on every level of your being. The beauty of this practice is that it not only supports your manifestation, it transforms how you carry yourself in daily life. You feel less reactive, more grounded, more naturally magnetic. People notice you. Conversations change. Energy flows differently. And the best part? You're no longer attracting from need. You're attracting from embodied alignment. You're no longer hoping he sees your worth. You're radiating it from the core, because when your body, emotions, and mind move as one, reality has no choice but to adjust. Everything you've learned in this journey, every visualization, every affirmation, every breath, every act of emotional embodiment has not been about controlling someone else. It has never been about making him come to you through force, strategy, or manipulation. It's always been about something much deeper, remembering your own power, restoring your emotional alignment, and reconnecting with the truth that what you seek is already seeking you. When you chase, you send the signal that you are lacking. When you radiate, you become the signal itself, and that shift from external pursuit to internal embodiment is where real manifestation begins. Jung didn't believe in shallow self-improvement. He believed in integration, in becoming whole. He knew that the unconscious, when aligned with the conscious, becomes a creative force that transforms everything. You don't attract someone by needing them. You attract them by being so complete in your own presence that they feel pulled toward you without knowing why. Your energy becomes undeniable. Your vibration becomes familiar to them because you've already connected in the unseen world. This is the deeper meaning of manifestation. It's not about magic. It's about coherence, about symbolic, emotional, and energetic alignment between the you who wants and the you who already has. So tonight, as you lie in bed and your eyes begin to close, you're not just falling asleep. You're entering the sacred space where your soul speaks. And when you wake, you don't ask, "Is he thinking of me?" You say, "Of course he is." You don't question if your energy reached him. You trust that it did, because you felt it. Let this practice be a returning home. Let your body become your temple, your heart become your compass, and your imagination become your doorway. Stop waiting for signs. Become the sign. Stop hoping for love. Become the frequency of love. You are not meant to chase what is already yours by design. You are meant to remember it, align with it, and let the universe do what it does best, reflect you. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to remember their power. Because the moment you stop chasing, he starts feeling the pull.